What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Actually Good Coffee Podcast, the show where we talk about all things coffee related, except I'm not drinking a cup of coffee right now. We are coming up on the 2-year anniversary of officially owning Maiden Coffee Roasters. And I like to look back, as most people do, on the end of the year and just see where we've grown in a lot of aspects. And I thought it would be a good idea to make a little bit more of a personal podcast, talking about what I've learned and where I feel I've grown the most in the past 2 years of owning this business. And I think this could be helpful for anyone who has their own business, is looking to start their own business, or is just involved in the coffee industry in any capacity. So there's 3 categories where I felt I have grown the most. The first is maintenance. When I was growing up, I grew up in a pretty wealthy family up until the age of 10. And unfortunately, a lot of those ideas that I grew up with stuck with me. And one of those was that if I ever have a problem, I could just pay somebody to do it. Unfortunately, that is not the case when you own a business. You are your jack of all trades. You have to learn how to do everything. The most difficult one for me was understanding my equipment and my machinery. With a coffee roasting business, your coffee roaster is your business. That is how you create your product every single week when you are a weekly roast to order business. And there was this one week where the motor broke down and I had no idea what to do. There was a manufacturing issue when they first sent out these machines, Diedrich Coffee Roasters, and I guess they sent the part out to the previous owners who never installed it. So over time, this motor just degraded and eventually just stopped altogether and seized onto the shaft of the roasting drum, and I had to get this thing off and replace it with a new one. But this thing was it was stuck on there. It was really tough to get off. I had to get my father-in-law to come out and help me. That's probably another lesson in there, which is, ask people for help when you need. And after about 5 days, we finally got this thing off and the new motor put on. And I remember waking up 2 days out of that 5-day experience and just telling my now wife, but girlfriend at the time, that I was thinking of how I'm going to file bankruptcy because I didn't know how to do it. But it was one of the most stressful weeks that I've ever had since owning this business. It was a difficult time. And what I learned is that I just didn't take the time to really understand the machine. And that goes for any business. Whatever is producing your product or the main source of your income, whatever that is, learn it from the ground up, inside and out, as much as you can. Don't shy away from it. Don't try to not address it because it is too intimidating. Learn it as much as you can, because whenever there is an issue, you'll know how to fix it, and you don't have to drop thousands of dollars on somebody to come fix it for you when you probably can't afford it. The second category is distribution / travel. This is probably the second category where you'll save the most money next to labor, doing all the work yourself. For us, we use UPS to actually ship a lot of our clients' orders each week. We have a pretty good client base out in Philly, so I have an employee drive out there because we're actually saving money in doing that. But that's something that you're going to have to take into account if you're, again, offering a product-based service. I found that UPS has the best deals on packages up to about 40 pounds. Anything over 40 pounds, and it gets a bit pricey. If you have a good client base in a certain area that still is far away, you could probably save a lot of money if you just drove out there yourself. If you have a single member LLC, you can write off your gas you use in order to actually go and make those deliveries. That's an expense that could be covered, but you also want to take into account your time, the tolls, any other maintenance that you have to do on your car. These are all factors that you need to include, but if you can do it right and you're clever in how you spend your time, this can be the way that you save some of the most money starting off until you build up more of a client base and you can afford to start sending people out there yourself and getting company trucks, doing all the things that you need to as you grow. Another part of travel and distribution is getting green coffee. Having a good relationship with your importer is huge. Understanding the harvest seasons and different origins, because they do happen at different times. Knowing when to do a new crop cycle. That was another issue. During the labor strike, we had to contract a new Ethiopia for our blends, and that was tasting very different, and we had to go through a lot of R&D to try to dial in that roast properly. And this sort of leads me to my next topic, which is quality control. Quality control, product The product is everything. If you have a good product, you don't need to spend any money on marketing. You don't need to spend any money on anything else. If you have a product that's good enough, people will come from around the world to get it. Quality control is how you ensure that your product is the best. I'm sure there must be a study with the amount of time spent on a company that dedicates to quality control is directly proportionate to how much that company grows, how much testing they're doing on a weekly basis, how much they are ensuring that their product is consistently coming out correctly. I would argue directly correlates to how large that company grows. You can never do enough testing to make sure that your product is good, especially when it comes to coffee, where it's a lot of the times like the Wild West with a lot of the rules that people make up. There are always going to be variables that change. You can never predict what the weather is going to do. You can never predict what things are going to happen that's going to affect your product's taste, especially when you get into moments where it might be a client might have an issue with what you're selling. You need to have that insurance in knowing that your product is still at its top level. You need to know how it's tasting on a consistent basis so you feel that much more confident in conveying to your customers and clients that your product is the best, or it is what it has lived up to in the past. It is consistently coming out the way that it's supposed to. And I feel it just really gives you and your employees the confidence in knowing that you're consistently offering quality time over time. That is your niche that you're focusing on. So knowing that you are consistently bringing the best coffee to the table within your specific niche. The last idea that's focused around this category of quality control is certifications, or maybe organic certifications, just to make it more specific. I think this also applies to any sort of trend that's within your market. I don't think you necessarily always need to chase those trends. I know organic coffee has a market within the coffee industry, but for my situation, it wasn't as crucial as it might be for another coffee company. When I came into this business, we were doing almost $300K in revenue when I first got into Maiden, and that was never one of their focal points, providing organic coffee. Now, if I was a part of that, I would probably make that one of our focal points. But for Maiden, it was more about high quality and just offering an exceptional product. I've looked to maintain that quality throughout our product, but I've tried to break into the organic and sustainable market. We are not organic certified, but I would like to be at some point. And what I've tried to keep in mind when contracting coffees is finding coffees that still are exceptional, but are grown in more sustainable ways. Because when we do make that changeover, eventually there's minimal work that we have to do besides getting that certification. We can just convert all of our coffees over to the organic certification or the regenerative organic certification that has recently come out. And then we can put that label on all of our coffees because we're already contracting all of those types of coffees. That is what I would like to do. And that's something that I keep in mind when I'm contracting coffees now. And it's a tough balance. It's kind of like if you had a triangle, right? And one of those corners was sustainability, another corner was quality, and then another corner was cost effectiveness. You're not going to be able to get all three. You have to find a balance between all three when you're offering coffee. This applies for any company. That is the most difficult part in trying to find our coffee. But I would say that you will get to a point where you do find your target, and you're just going to be centered around that for the rest of your time. And then that way, that's your marker that you're going off of when you're contracting your coffees. I hope that makes sense. A lot of this is definitely a little bit more personable than usual, so apologies if it does not apply to your situation, but this has just been top of mind recently, so I wanted to go over it in case anyone is looking to start their own coffee roastery or start their own business. It is possible, but you are going to have to let go of some of your preconceptions in coming into this business and maybe drop your guard a little bit as well when asking for help, when trying to learn new things that you might feel that you're above. You're going to have to just eliminate your ego altogether. So again, thank you all for listening. I know I always say this, but I really do appreciate the support over the years for anyone that buys our product or just supports our business in general. It really does mean the world to me, and I will talk to you all again very soon.